You keep waiting for a sign, some kind of confirmation that you're on the right path, some cosmic signal, some unmistakable message that all those late nights, all those hours of quiet effort, all the discipline you've been choosing while the rest of the world sleeps actually mean something. You want proof that the sacrifices are leading somewhere, because right now, from where you're standing, it can feel like you're pouring energy into a void. Night after night, you work, you study, you build, you grow, and yet, nothing seems to happen. Or at least, that's what it looks like. But what if the truth is something completely different? What if the signs you've been waiting for have been appearing the entire time, and you've simply been overlooking them? What if everything you dismissed as coincidence, everything you labeled as random timing, everything that felt like a delay, was actually guiding you exactly where you were meant to go? Think about that for a second, because right now, at this very moment, you're closer to a breakthrough than you've ever been before. Not because of luck, not because of some mystical prediction, but because of how transformation actually works in the real world. And here's the strange part. Almost nobody understands this process, which is exactly why so many people quit just before everything changes. You've probably heard the old phrase, most people quit 3 feet from gold, and it's painfully true. Let me explain something about progress that most people misunderstand. We tend to imagine growth as a straight line. You work hard, you see results. You work harder, you see bigger results. A smooth upward curve, a clean graph, effort in, reward out. Simple, predictable, logical. But that's not how anything in nature actually works. And whether you realize it or not, you are part of nature. Real growth rarely happens where people can see it. It happens underground. Think about a seed buried in soil. For weeks, sometimes months, nothing appears to be happening. To an outside observer, the dirt looks exactly the same. No movement, no progress, no evidence of life. If someone didn't understand the process, they might assume the seed failed. They might say the potential was wasted. But beneath the surface, something extraordinary is happening. Roots are forming. Cells are dividing. Energy is gathering. The seed is preparing itself for the moment it finally breaks through the surface. And when that moment arrives, people look at the sprout and say, wow, it just started growing. But you know the truth. The growth started long before anyone could see it. And chances are, so did yours. You've been doing your work in the dark. And right now, you might be closer to breaking through the surface than you realize. Here's something no one tells you about approaching a major turning point in life. It rarely feels like success. Most of the time, it feels like failure. The resistance becomes stronger, not weaker. Your doubts become louder, not quieter. The thing you've been working toward can sometimes seem further away than ever, which is incredibly confusing. Because logically, if you're getting closer, things should feel easier, right? But that's not how momentum works. Think about a rocket launching into space. Where does it burn the most fuel? Where does it encounter the most resistance? Right at the beginning, when it's fighting against gravity. That first phase is violent, shaking, intense. Everything strains under the pressure. But once the rocket escapes the pull of gravity, everything changes. It glides. Effort decreases. Momentum takes over. But here's the tragic mistake most people make. They quit during the burn. They feel the resistance and assume it means they're doing something wrong, when in reality, the burn is proof they're doing something right. And if you've been feeling the burn lately, pay attention, because that might not be a warning sign. It might be a proximity signal. Have you noticed something strange happening in your life recently? A strange mix of exhaustion and excitement, like you're tired of where you are, but oddly energized by something you can't fully explain yet. It's almost like a quiet electricity running under the surface of your thoughts. If you felt that, you're not alone. And no, you're not confused. You're recognizing something. Some deeper part of you, far beyond the conscious mind, can sense that an old chapter of your life is closing and something new is beginning to form. Look closely at what has been quietly leaving your life lately. Not the dramatic losses, the subtle ones. The friend who slowly stopped calling. The hobby that once excited you but now feels strangely empty. The goals that used to motivate you but suddenly feel like someone else's dream. At first, you might have thought you were losing things, but what if that's not what's happening? What if you're not losing anything at all? What if you're being streamlined? What if life is removing the weight that would slow you down in the next phase? Nature does this all the time. A snake doesn't mourn the skin it sheds. A butterfly doesn't grieve the caterpillar it used to be. Transformation requires release. And right now, your system may be intelligently letting go of what cannot survive the next version of you. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. Now let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. Have you been feeling like you're running out of time? Like everyone else seems to be moving ahead while you're still trying to figure things out? If that's been on your mind lately, you're not alone. But here's the twist most people never realize. You're not at the starting line. You're in the final stretch before everything starts to align. That urgency you're feeling, that sense that something in your life needs to change soon, it's not anxiety, it's anticipation. Your future self is pulling you forward. And right before life elevates you, something strange always happens. Everything that won't come with you starts revealing itself. Weak relationships get tested. Half-hearted commitments lose their grip. Comfortable illusions begin to collapse. And from the outside, it can look like your life is falling apart. But there's a crucial difference most people miss. It's not falling apart, it's falling away. And those are two completely different things. Because the life you're stepping into requires a different version of you. Not necessarily a better version, not a more impressive version, just a more aligned one. A version that trusts its intuition. A version that refuses to live by outdated patterns. A version that isn't afraid to outgrow the old story. And that version cannot fully emerge while you're still clinging to identities that no longer belong to you. So the structure cracks, the old frameworks crumble, and you stand there in the middle of the dust thinking you failed, when in reality, you've just been cleared for takeoff. Everything you've experienced up to this point, every setback, every closed door, every moment of doubt, has been shaping you for what's next. And here's the part most people never see coming. The biggest obstacle before a breakthrough isn't doubt. It's the gap, that strange, uncomfortable space between who you used to be and who you're becoming. In that space, nothing feels stable. Your old identity doesn't fit anymore, but your new identity hasn't fully formed. You're floating between versions of yourself, and it feels like static. This is the moment where many people retreat. They turn around. They convince themselves the old life was good enough. They revive passions they've already outgrown. They force themselves back into roles that no longer fit. And sometimes they spend decades pretending they never felt the pull to evolve. But you're still here, still listening, still searching, which means something inside you refuses to go backward. You've seen too much. You've felt too much. You can't unlearn what you've already discovered about yourself. What you're experiencing right now isn't a crisis. It's a chrysalis. Just like the caterpillar doesn't understand it's becoming a butterfly while it's inside the cocoon. You can't fully see what you're becoming from inside your transformation. All you know is that everything familiar feels like it's dissolving, and that can be terrifying. Because here's something people rarely talk about. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar doesn't simply grow wings. It dissolves completely. Every structure breaks down. It becomes biological soup. Only after that total dissolution do the cells reorganize into something capable of flight. Imagine if the caterpillar had consciousness during that process. It would think it was dying. It would have no way of understanding that destruction was actually transformation. And if you're honest, that might be exactly what this stage of your life feels like right now. Like you're in the soup. Your mind tries to interpret everything through past experiences. But this moment doesn't resemble anything you've lived through before. So your brain defaults to fear, to resistance, to the desperate urge to return to solid ground. But solid ground might be exactly what you're evolving beyond. The next phase of your life doesn't require more certainty. It requires more trust. Not blind belief in the universe, but trust in the intelligence of your own becoming. Trust that this emptiness has a purpose. Trust that the stripping away is surgical, not random. Trust that the space being created is meant for something larger. Think about it this way. A butterfly requires an entirely different environment than a caterpillar. Different movement, different perspective, different altitude. You can't reach that altitude while still carrying caterpillar concerns, old dreams, old expectations, old definitions of success. They must be composted first, broken down, recycled into the raw material of something greater. And the people around you may not understand this. Some will ask when you're going back to normal. Others will expect you to become the person they remember. But the truth is, you're not going back. You're going through. And sometimes transformation requires disappointing the expectations of people who only knew your earlier chapters. Not because you stopped caring, but because shrinking yourself to remain familiar would stop the evolution that's already begun. So if things feel quiet right now, if your old motivations have faded, if you feel like you're standing between two versions of your life, that might not be a problem. That might be the signal you've been waiting for. The emptiness is the sign. The detachment is the sign. The feeling of being between worlds is the sign. Because people who aren't ready for their next level rarely feel this way. They're comfortable where they are. They don't feel the call forward, but you do. Even if you don't feel ready, even if you can't see the final destination yet, everything that needed to happen to bring you here has already happened. Now, the only thing left is to let go. Let the old interests fade. Let the outdated goals dissolve. Let the shifting relationships reveal their new form. Not because you're quitting, but because you're making room. Room for something you couldn't even imagine from your previous perspective. The butterfly never mourns the caterpillar. It simply flies. And sooner than you think, so will you. So here's something I want you to do right now. Pause for a second. Reflect honestly. Do you feel like your life is in a strange transition phase right now? If yes, drop a transforming in the comments. Because you'd be surprised how many people are standing in this exact moment of change, quietly, privately, wondering if they're the only one. And trust me, they're not. You're standing at the threshold. Every experience you've had, every challenge, every moment of confusion has been guiding you here, not toward some distant future, but toward this exact realization. The breakthrough isn't something that's coming someday. You're already inside it. All that's left is to recognize it.